What? You have to just tap the screen. There's different options. One of them, once you tap the screen, you see different options. One of them shows a camera, like arrows.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Someone touch the screen when you touch it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
And Motzi Tisha B'Av, the Rebbe wrote a Mittwoch reporting. By the bottom, he wrote a whole long thing that since we are coming soon to the 40th Yortet of his father, Rabbi Yitzchak, all I have today was who's God. The Rebbe has a great obligation and a great schus to Matzia. The Rebbe always referred to Chof as his private thing. To Matzia, that in that day of Chof, everyone should make a Farbrengen and Nimshas Rabbi Yitzchak, my Rabbi Fishel, his father, and that Farbrengen should have a vote from the Torah, and to give tzedakah and Zech and Shmosei, so both of them have the schus. We're starting the 80th year now, it was almost 4 years ago to start. So we are gathering to cover the Rebbe's father, and even though the Rebbe during the years many times said again and again, like my private thing, but I asked Sidney, everything has to do with the Rebbe is not private, it's Lubavitch. And if it's private, it's even more bigger Chavidos than the Rebbe's private thing. We have a school, we have a Fishel, Oster, Fishel, Farbrengen, we have a before, we're giving out some Chaim now, sing together with Hashem, and to give us a spot from the Rebbe.
Here. Which one you want? If they don't like it, they should come do a better job. Usually you put it right in front of you.
I don't know why he asked me to set it up, but put it wherever you want.
First thing is question the Bar Malchus, a bar from the Rebbe's father that the Rebbe spoke about many times at Farbrengens on this week's Parsha.
So in this week's parsha, one of the mitzvahs is the mitzvah of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a mitzvah regarding an eved. When you free an eved ibri, so you have to give him additional gifts. When he leaves, you have to give him gifts. The pasuk there describes the gifts that you have to give him. That's the mitzvah of Hanukkah. So the Rebbe's father explained what this inyan of Hanukkah is, Beruchnius, and what it means in Avodas Hashem. So simply, the pasuk is talking about an odin and an eved, a master with a slave, an eved ibni, which you have to give him these gifts. However, the Rebbe's father says, more broadly speaking, the odin and the eved also refers to a Rav and a Talmud, a teacher and a student. The relationship of a teacher and a student also has some relationship of an odin and an eved, even though sometimes it says that it's very different. You don't want to have a teacher that treats you as a master and a teacher that treats his students like slaves. But nevertheless, the Rebbe brings the Gemara that it says regarding certain Talmidim that Melichin Mani Lebei Masusa, that they would serve their teacher and they would take his things. When he went to the bathhouse, they would serve him and bring his clothing for him to the bathhouse. So they would treat their teacher like a master, which is a certain sense of subservience, a certain sense of bittul. So whatever says that this whole point of Hanukkah applies not only to an odin and an eved, but it also applies to a Rav and a Talmud. The Rebbe's father teaches. So what's the meaning of Hanukkah? A good teacher, when he teaches, the first thing is he has to know what he's teaching. He has to know his stuff. But besides that, he also has to know who he's teaching. A teacher is not someone that's just able to talk and say things because that's what's going on in his mind, and that's the idea he has. A teacher has to estimate and understand the level of his students, and he teaches accordingly. He teaches on their level. Again, that's the difference between an odin and an eved. In the world of a master and a servant or a slave, the slave is a subject. He's a detail. He's someone that's there to serve the master. The master is the center. He's everything, and the slave is just here because the master needs his service. The entire nature of the relationship is based on what? It's based on bittul. Who are you? You're just here to serve the master. When it comes to a teacher and a student, the whole focus of the relationship between a teacher and the student is the exact opposite. That the teacher is here focusing on giving the student the knowledge and giving him and elevating the student and meeting the student on his level. He has to figure out what level the student is on, and come down and meet the student on his level and engage him on his level and elevate him. And then teach him the Torah. That's the idea of a Rav and a Talmud. So, when it comes to an odin and an eved, so if a master is a kind master and he treats his eved properly, so we can understand that if it happens that for whatever reason the master is freeing the eved, so then the master will give the eved all kinds of gifts, even if the eved feels sort of surprised that he doesn't deserve these gifts. As it says, the Fishel in the Gemara, that the halacha of Hanukkah, that you have to provide gifts, is not because of anything that the slave necessarily earned. The Gemara there describes that sometimes you have a slave that comes into a house, and he does so much that besides the pay that he deserves for what he actually did, but he changed over the whole house. He brought drach into the house. He changed everything, so he deserves an additional gift. But the Gemara says that Odin gives an eved a gift regardless of his accomplishment, whether he changed the house, he didn't change. The Odin gives the eved a gift because an Odin is mashpia. The Odin gives regardless of whether the eved is a keli or he's not a keli. It doesn't make a difference. That's the nature of the relationship between an Odin and an eved. On one hand, the Eved is totally bottled to the Adon, totally bottled to his master. On the other hand, the Adon gives the hashpah to the Eved not based on the level, not based on the kalim of the Eved. But when it comes to a Rav and a Talmud, usually the relationship of a Rav and a Talmud always works with a midah or shir, a certain, whether he learns on a certain level, he understands with his seichel, and the Rav has to teach him on that level. Anything that's given that's not on the level of the student is not at all. He can't take it as a Talmud. I mean, the idea of a Talmud is that he's getting it b'pnimius, and he's on a level to receive it. He's a keli for it. There's no point of a Rav just showering and starting to speak things to a student that's not at all on the level of the student. So the Rebbe's father says, nevertheless, this idea of giving gifts applies to a Rav and a Talmud as well. That even by a Rav and a Talmud, he has to teach his student, and the lashon that the Rebbe's father uses is not only to teach with moichen ketanen, but he has to give him moichen gedolim. Moichen ketanen means that he teaches his student in a small way. In other words, he teaches based on the level of the student. Moichen gedolim means that the Rav teaches without any tzimtzum, without any filters. The truth, the way it exists by him, that's the way he gives it over to the student, not filtering out, not minimizing the intensity of the truth in any way. He gives it over to the student with the entire takeoff. L'chayre, when a Rav teaches, when a teacher teaches in such a way and he doesn't filter out certain things that are beyond the grasp of the student, so then the whole relationship of teacher and student is gone. So now the Rav is just speaking his mind. He's speaking his mind and he's saying things that are going on in his reality, in his world, which is not shaykh to the Talmud B'chlal. So Bishloime by an Adon and an Eved, it's not a surprise that the Torah says that there's such a concept, that an Adon is mashpia to an Eved in a way, and including even things that the Eved is not a keli for. That's the entire inyan of a Adon and an Eved. A sheikh, when it comes to a Rav and a Talmud, all idea of a Rav and a Talmud is dafka that the Talmud should be teifus b'pnimiyus. Comes the Rebbe's father and says that this concept of hanokah, of sharing and giving over the truth, the unadulterated truth in the way it is in its source, applies even by a Rav and a Talmud. When you teach, you have to give it over and you have to include, besides the moichen ketanim. It can't just be the moichen gedolim. Besides the level of moichen ketanim, which is on the level for the student to receive, there also has to be moichen gedolim to continue to give over the whole entire truth, k'moshehu, without any filters. That's the word that the Rebbe's father. So this is a word that the Rebbe brings, and it's in the Sikha in Chelik Chaim L'Chaim. It's in the Sikha in Chelik Yutes, the fourth Sikha in Chelik Yutes. Take a look inside. The Rebbe brings it there and explains it. The Rebbe applies it to every situation. There's not every single person, to one degree or another, finds himself in a situation where he is a teacher, whether he's teaching literally, teaching his talmidim, whether he's teaching b'necha, literally his children. Talmidim are considered like children, but a person that is mechanech and teaches his children, every person that Rebbe in the Sikha says comes in contact with other Yidden, and you have an opportunity to be mekad of other Yidden and to elevate them and connect them to Hashem. So the natural approach that we have is the moment you meet someone else, and you strike up a conversation with him, and you see where he's at in life, and you see what his frame of mind is, you think to yourself right away, you immediately begin filtering what you're going to tell him, what you are going to tell him, what you're not going to tell him, what he could understand, what he can't understand, and what the truth or the certain things, the shaydish of the emes k'moshehu, you think to yourself that that's something that I can't share. That's something I can't give over. The Rebbe says that what the Rebbe's father is saying over here is, any Yid you meet, you have to always realize, no matter who he is, he has the same neshama as you. And his neshama knows and feels and sees the truth just as much as you do. His neshama is just as much connected as yours is. You're not any greater than him. It's all one thing. It's all one and exactly the same thing. Elamai could be that in Seichel you were more exposed, you learned more, you have more knowledge. Could be that there's certain schmutz, there's certain chitzonius that's covering over the other person's neshama, and therefore he doesn't realize the power of his neshama. But the moment you look at a student, the moment you look at someone that's learning from you anything about Torah or Yiddishkeit, the way you have to look at him is that he's 100% pure, and he's able to receive the gifts, the hanokah, the gifts of Torah without any tzimtzum. And even if you have to lechatchila explain things to him with certain kalim, with certain mishalim, or with certain filters, but in your mind, your objective has to be that you're going to reach this person and you're going to give him the real gifts of Torah, the meichin gedolim of Torah. So I was thinking to myself when I saw the sikha that this part of the Rebbe's father very much expresses something that you saw begoloi by the Rebbe's father himself. No matter how you're going to explain how or what the hesed for this is, but it's known regarding the Rebbe's father that the Rebbe's father was a Mekubal and spoke in the language of Kabbalah, wrote in the language of Kabbalah. He spoke and lived, and everything was like in a completely different reality. And even when he got up on the Shabbos and he gave a speech for the Yidden in his shul in Yekaterinoslavl, who were these Yidden? There were big Chassidim, there were big Pashute, Proste Yidden, all kinds of Yidden, some that may have hardly been Shem Torah mitzvahs. On all levels, he would get up on a regular Shabbos and start speaking Divrei Kabbalah on the highest level, and he would go on and on. He can speak for 2 hours Divrei Kabbalah, and you don't know that anybody understand what he's saying. There's nobody understand what he's saying, but he was showering and giving the truth and the gifts of Torah without any filters. Kamoishu. This was when the Rebbe's father was in Yekaterinoslavl, and the other places that he was later in Golos, but in the city of the Chiali, I think it's the city, later in Almata. So there's a lot of these stories of people that were there in these places with the Rebbe's father, and this is always something that comes up. There was once in Almata where there was a big bris, and there was a lot of people that came from the city, and there's all kinds of people. Like I said, people were hardly Shem Torah mitzvahs, and the Rebbe's father at that point was already very weak and frail, and he looked like he could hardly talk. And the Rebbe's father began talking, and they thought he's going to talk for 5 minutes. How long is he going to talk for? What is he going to talk about? Say a mazel tov, a bracha, something for the bris. He got up and he spoke for 2 hours straight, and for 2 hours he's speaking Kabbalah, and who is he speaking to? Who understands what he's saying? And the Rebbe's father is showering and giving this concept, the hanokah of Torah, the gifts of Torah, the truth of Torah. You know, there's a story that Chassidim say. I'm not to give any asveidim for the hanokah of the Rebbe's father, but I think it's definitely massive to this musig of hanokah that the Rebbe's father explains over here. But just a little bit of a word of what this is about. There's a story with a chassid. They say that this chassid was davening with a pashut chassid, very simple yid, nothing great about him, but he used to daven with a tremendous fervor, with a tremendous geschmack and a chayes. So someone by a Farbrengen asked him, "With what's davening to me? What are you davening? With what's?" He knew that this yid has a problem with reading the Ivra properly, and Pirush Amilis he probably didn't understand at all. So, with was davenst du? Verstehst du the Retz B'chlal? You understand what you're saying? So this chassid looks at him and he doesn't understand the question. He says, "Wer verstehen was the Wert zu sagen? The Wörter allein sind doch ein Geschmack. Who has to understand what the words mean? The words itself is gold." There's a famous word that Chassidim would say that when you chazer over Divrei Elokim Chayim, you say a word of Torah, and the words of Torah are Torah Semes. So no matter what language you say it in, no matter whether people understand, whether people don't understand, the neshama versteht. So not necessarily is it always a seder and aveda, not necessarily is it always the right thing to to dafke be medayik, to speak and tell people things that they won't understand. But by Rabbi Leivik, this was definitely an Indian that it was Zort Fei, that by him, the Indian of giving over Gili Alakuz, the Goli, even the people that were standing there, they didn't understand the teichen of what he was saying. But the teichen, the Mercedes Nefesh, and the Alakuz, the godliness in the words that he was saying was definitely so apparent and so powerful that Veda verstehen was gesagt, the Welt der allein ist doch Gold. Okay. Schmolz, time. The sikha that I mentioned about this Indian of Hanukkah, so the Rebbe's father there in the sikha, in the Smokut Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe brings it in the sikha in Chelik Yites. The Rebbe there says an interesting thing, that when it comes to the mitzvah of Hanukkah, there's a machlokes whether it's an Indian of Stokke or it's a schar pu'ula. Is it some meaning? Is it some form of payment? True, it's not actual payment that's for what he earned, for the job that he did, and so on, that he was paid for it. This is sort of an extra payment. But nevertheless, when a person does a job properly, so you give him an extra tip, you give him something more, So when the Torah is saying to give Hanukkah, what is the Torah telling you here? The Torah is saying, be a mensch. Be a mensch. The guy does a job and you pay him the exact price that was set. And you don't give him one extra penny, even though he did such a good job and he served you for all these years and so on. So it's not menschlich. A person that what works for you, a person that so you give him something extra. That's one approach that it says regarding the concept of Hanukkah. But in other places it says that no, Hanukkah is not an extension of the payment. It's not a menschlichkeit regarding the payment. The Hanukkah is purely a concept of tzedakah. Tzedakah is a person, you're letting him go. He worked for you for all this time and you're letting him go and he's on his own. So send him off with gifts, send him on his way with something extra. He didn't earn it, doesn't deserve it. Even mitzad menschlichkeit, he doesn't deserve it. Whatever that brings that the halach is regarding Hanukkah, the mitzvah of Hanukkah is not measured by the length of time that the Eved served his master. It's not measured by what kind of a benefit he brought to his master. It's not measured by anything. There's a certain shear that the Torah says, exactly what the Hanukkah has to be, regardless of what the Eved did. If it would be a matter of a pay for the job he did, or for the time that he spent with you and what he brought you, so then it should be accordingly. It should be what he did. If he worked for you for one day, it's not the same like if he spent a year with you. So it seems like that the union of Hanukkah is the union of tzedakah. On the other hand, the Rebbe brings a raya in the Sikha that Hanukkah is schar pa'ula, that it is a form of payment. And the raya is because the Gemara says that the concept of Yerusha is shaykh by Hanukkah as well. If this person passes away, then the Hanukkah goes to the Yerushin. When it comes to tzedakah, if it's something which is totally extra and it's union of tzedakah, there's no concept of Yerusha for this. If it's related, if it's sort of something that he earned, and it's a mode of payment, so then if it's owed to the father, and he died, so it goes to the Yerushin. So the concept of Yerusha proves that it's a schar pula. So it's interesting. You see here regarding Hanukkah, both of these approaches. The Rebbe brings from his father, what is these two different inyanim, whether it's tzedakah or it's a schar pula, the taich is, schar pula means something that you're able to take and digest and live with by pnimi, something that becomes yours. The klal is, Chazal tell us, that a person appreciates something that he worked on his own, something that he independently came to, is much more valuable, is much more real, is much more emistic, it's much more pnimiistic than any gift or any thing that someone else could teach you. If you didn't come to it on your own, it's not as one with you. It's not the lashon that Rebbe's father is. It's not misatzim. It doesn't become one with your very entity. On the other hand, something that you work on your own and you earn and so on, there are limitations to that. Everybody has their limitations. When you receive a gift, so then a matane is something which is free of charge, and it's something which comes beyond what you could afford. It's a tzedakah. When a person receives a tzedakah, it's not based on anything that you did to earn that tzedakah. It's a gift. It's a gift that's beyond you. The Rebbe Taich is that's what the Torah here is saying is the mitzvah of Hanukkah is actually both at the same time. There's an aspect of tzedakah to it, and there's an aspect of schar pula, of payment to it. Meaning the ultimate connection of a yid to the Eibishter has to have both of these points in it. On one hand, the yid has to be margish, yid has to know that his connection to the Eibishter is a tzedakah. Now there's the medrash that says, mi'ik dimani v'ashalim, which means that no matter what a person does, he could never come and say that the Eibishter owes me. I deserve. The Eibishter owes me. Nothing is taken smoking by the Eibishter. There's no such thing that the Eibishter owes me. The Eibishter is not chayiv to give anybody anything. No such a thing. The Gemara tells us that every single yid could demand by the Eibishter kol tov, and every single yid, even to give him kesudas shleime b'shaita, Harchavas Suda Shleimi B'Shaita is still not enough because he deserves even more than that. And the Eibush is a teva, the Eibush should give and has to give for every single year what he deserved from because of his Avedis Hashem. But nevertheless, all of these things that Chazal tell us is we speak about the Lokos and Seder Shtalshalos. Once there's a certain all of Beritzayna is one. All of Beritzayna, the Eibush decided that there's going to be a Metzias of a belt that has its Tfisas Makim. There's a certain system in place. That the Metzias of a Nivra is Tfisas Makim. So over here, within this system of Seder Shtalshalos, yeah, a Yid has a Tfias, a Kumtzachem to the Shleimi B'Shaita and even more. But the Etzem, Mitzad the Eibishter himself, before there's any Gedorim, where nothing is really Tfisas Makim, Kula Kamek Allah Chashet, the Eibishter, whatever he gives you, you wake up in the morning, you could breathe, whatever you have, from Ruchnius to Gashmius and every single parat is at tzedakah, the absolute tzedakah, and this has to be the side of how he looks at his life, that I don't deserve anything, I can't demand anything, it's a matnas chinam. Matnas chinam, like by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu said was, Anan, he asks by the Eibishter, matnas chinam. From anybody in the world, Moshe Rabbeinu, which is shleimus mivcha mina anushi. Moshe Rabbeinu was the shleimus of a human being, and he came to the mentes sha'arim in his Avedis Hashem. If there's anybody, he has the best schusim in the world to demand that the Eibishter has to give him. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu comes with an absolute bittul and says, I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve anything. Why? Because when you stand in front of the Eibishter himself, so that's all it's tzedakah. Al derech ze over here, when you get to this mitzvah of Hanukkah, the first you say when you get to the mitzvah of Hanukkah is that a yid has to be makir, mi ani omon, ich ben a garnish, this is alta lakos, it's all mumayel, all the matot, it's tzedakah, it comes from the Eibishter. On the other hand, the Hanukkah is a schar pola, which means that this gufa that the Eibishter gives a yid mumayel, lamata, and this truth that a yid understands and knows, and that the truth that the Eibishter is hulav vadi hu ve'in zulasai. And nobody's type of smoking, and there's nothing that's meaningful in the world. It's nothing, whatever Alveda you do has no value whatsoever. This gufa has to become part and parcel of who you are, has to penetrate your very mitzias. It can't remain makifik. Person can then say bazai, my seichel is garnished, my midday is a weiter garnished, my whole mitzias is not type of smoking b'chlal. Everything I do is shalei be'ereh, is meaningless and nothing. So something should come with me. It has nothing to do with me. But that's not what the Eibishter wants. It's say that in Aveda what the Eibishter wants is he creates us an open that we have b'chira chofshis. Every person has his independence. The entire life of a person is based on b'chira chofshis. That's the human being. The Adam is a person that chooses everything he does. And the Eibishter set it up in this way, not because your choice really means anything, but because this is how Elokus will penetrate you. As long as Elokus comes down to a person, Mumayla Lamata, as a gift, as a tzedakah, and it doesn't permeate your mitzias, that you yourself are makir, recognize this and embrace it and live with it, with your own kaiches. So then, the statement that this basically says is that the truth of the Eibishter is true Mumayla. As long as you don't get into the way, so the Eibishter is true. The moment you get into the way, the moment you have an opinion, the moment there's some mitzias in the Welt, that there's a choshech, there's a mitzias, there's a seichel, there's a middah. Over here, Elokus is the truth of Elokus doesn't hold, doesn't come out anymore. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That the ultimate truth of the Eibishter, the ultimate truth of Hulavati Hu Ve'in Zulasi wasn't really expressed yet. When is the ultimate truth of the Eibishter expressed? Dafke, when it penetrates the mitzias of the person. The idea of schar pola is when a person does something and it's mine. Elokus becomes his. The Eibishter becomes his. Okay, Rabbi Ferguson doesn't want me to speak, so I'll stop at that. L'chaim, l'chaim. L'chaim, l'chaim. So they bring out things. Huh? Schweigen. Nach Peretz will schweigen. Trust me, I'm more than happy to listen. Sag, das ist gut.
If you're taking Rabbi, don't bring it to me. Not until then. I can go back further. I have no problem. It's shoving my hand. Fine, fine. Rabbi Pabsner mentioned at the beginning of the Farbrengen that the Rebbe said regarding Chof, Alaya, Asklus, Ratzia, that everyone should learn from the Rebbe's Torah and to get stuck on the date for the Rebbe's father, make a Farbrengen. So all these things could be fulfilled in two ways. You can do it by Chitzani or you can do it by Pnimi. By Chitzani is to be Yaitze Zayin. Today, everything, but for many people, everything turns into a Zgula. But the Rebbe said, if you're going to do so and so, you'll get 500 times as much. If you're going to Farbrengen, if you're going to say a bar to the Rebbe's father, so then you're going to get Bonachayim Zayin. If you do this, everything is like Almanas, the Kabel Pras. Now, Chassidim always nischanech that it's not nicht das ist Chabad. A Chassid is a Pnimi. A Chassid does something while the emes is in Tayah. The emes alone is Tayah Pashut. For us, for Chassidim, Chof was by the Rebbe in Proti, in Pnimi, the Rebbe's father, the Rebbe's Kibbudav, the Rebbe gave the Hakaras HaTeiv, the Rebbe gave anybody that had in any direct or even indirect way something that cashed to his father, something that he did for his father, the Rebbe went mamish above and beyond, went out of his way to do for this person and the brachas the Rebbe gave for these people. So when it comes to the Kibbud Av of the Rebbe's father and the Farbrengen for the Rebbe's father, it's not something to be yaitze, to make a psasgula, to make a l'shem yichod or something, but this is the Farbrengen is in Pnimi that forget us to give the Rebbe's father the proper cover that the Rebbe's father deserves. The Rebbe's father doesn't deserve a Farbrengen where people are being yaitze for him. As mentioned before, the Rebbe's father wasn't a yid that was here to be yaitze. If you came to the Rebbe's father and you wanted to hear a vart meant 2 hours. That's what a vart was. Other people, you want to hear a vart, they'll tell you a sound bite. Today, it's the generation of sound bites. If something is more than 30 seconds long, so then the attention span is gone. But the Rebbe's father is maybe very important to think about and speak about for our day, that to be in something with the pnimius and to connect to something with the ganze emes and not to take just sound bites. The nekuda is that there's different things you can speak about and say what the issue of picking up sound bites is. But the main issue of picking up just sound bites is it doesn't do anything to you. It doesn't change you. It's impossible for a person to really get elevated and to really get involved in something without, there's a mime in Samachov actually, the Rebbe Rashab says, for any transformation to take place, for any growth, for any movement, whether in seichel, whether in midas, whether in behaviors, shehiyas man, time, process. A human being is complex. Every person has a lot of layers to his being. When you're struggling with something, even if you overcome it on one level, but on a deeper level, there's still something there that you're struggling with. And there's a lot of levels to this. And Chassidus Chabad is designed in such a way that it speaks to a person on one level, another mashal, another hesber, from a different angle, from another angle. It doesn't just come and tell you, Shtetin Teire, Einad Mulvadi. Finish, Gendik, Einad Mulvadi. What more do they have to know? Einad Mulvadi, the whole word is Batal and Muvutl, and that's it. Just repeat Einad Mulvadi again and again, and you see, make a niggin on Einad Mulvadi, and you scream, Zildach Alts Hevel Avolim, Einad Mulvadi, and finish the shame. No, Chassidus has pages and pages of Esbeirim, Ahead, and Mahin. Why? Because the Nefesh Bahamas doesn't accept it so fast, and there's Kol Mini Svaras and Seichel that don't accept it so fast. And you have to have the Hesbeirim from Kol Mini Efanim, and slowly it trickles in, it comes into the person. The Rebbe's father, the Hashpah of Teira and Hashpah of Chassidus, what we have from the Rebbe's father, the Divrei Teira that's printed, which are 4 krochim of Teiras Levi Yitzchak, Lekuti Levi Yitzchak, Igris Levi Yitzchak. It's just 4 volumes of the vast amount of Teira that the Rebbe's father taught and shared for all the years that he was a Rabbi Yekaterinoslav. And there was also the Chsav, all the things that the Rebbe's father wrote. And the Rebbe's mother had tremendous tzad of the fact that when he was taken away, it all got lost, it all got destroyed, and they couldn't recover it. And the little bit that we have from the Rebbe's father is what he wrote later time, when he wrote when the Rebbe's mother prepared for him the ink that she made for him, and he wrote the notes on the side of the Zohar and the sides of the Tanya, and then some of the things that he wrote in the Chidushim of the Gemara. But if we would have all the writings of the Rebbe's father, it was ariches gedeilav in a plot. So Chof is not a union of getting a nice soundbite and getting a hem schlafen. That's not. Chof is the Rebbe's father is a person that from a different world
different world, living in a world of Kabbalah, of Elokus, of Getlichkeit, something else. And the L'chaim and the Hishtaftus and the Chazarova of what from Rebbe's father is not the soundbite, but it's a lignin azach to for a moment, for it could be for one moment, but for that moment, I race again from dein Welt to leave your world and to be open and to hear and to connect to what's higher, something that's hechel. What's the title of the word Kabbalah? The Rebbe's father was a Mekubal, Rabbi Kodesh Mekubal. What's the title of Kabbalah? Kabbalah means something that's handed down as a tradition. It's given from one generation to from another, and it's coming from a chain, from a higher place. It's coming from a place which is better klal, something that's given over. So you give it over al piseichel, and the Talmud understands it. There's a famous word the Rebbe says that every time a person says something, he has to say the b'shem oimroi. When you have to say something b'shem oimroi, if you're hearing something from someone and hasn't yet registered in your mind, and the gistiv was yenad gesagt, you're saying what someone else says. It's not yours, so you have to say b'shem oimroi. But once you get it, so then it's true in your mind. You happen to have gotten the information of this truth from someone, but now it's not true because of him. He was the one that delivered it to you, but now that it's in your mind, it's true to you. So you can say it without the b'shem oimrei because to you it's true. The concept of Kabbalah is something else. Kabbalah is that you're receiving something on Maila, azay is niskabel devar. It's a hecher inyan, a higher truth that's not shaykh to the mitzias of seichel. That's the music of Kabbalah. Which means that a day like Chof demands of us to connect to a vart of the Rebbe's father, to see something, to try to see something from a different world, from a different reality, to see where he was coming from, what his inyan was about.
Nice to what was mentioned before regarding the Rebbe's father. Obviously, the Ikir Inyan that we have to take the lesson, but we have to take from the Rebbe's father is the Inyan of Mesiras Nefesh. Rebbe's father was Mesiras Nefesh, but Poyel Mamish, but Gufli Agashmi, for the Eibishter, Kiddush Hashem. But his father was sent away in exile, and then Be'ir Golusai, he passed away from all the tzar and the surim and the schwachkeit that was as a result of the whole golf that he was in. The Mesiras Nefesh for Pshutei Mamish. There's different pratim when you get to Mesiras Nefesh. The way it applies for us here today in Tavshin Pei Gimel in 2023. One of the pratim that the Rebbe speaks about regarding the Inyan of Mesiras Nefesh and the prat, the way it was by the Rebbe's father, is the takeif not to be misfall, not to change based on the place or the matzah that you're in. The takeif not to change. With that achlal, when it speaks about Mesiras Nefesh, the way it applies to our day, where there's no requirement for Mesiras Nefesh, but Poyel B'guf, up the musig of Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh means Mesiras Haratzon. The person is ready as a chavek to give away his own will to the Eibishter, and he has no agenda of his own, he has no plans of his own. He's here in the world to serve Hashem. That's it. He's giving away, completely gives his life away to Hashem in his whole entire purpose of life. That's the concept of Mesiras Nefesh. There's another Nekulah which Mesiras Nefesh is totally in this Nekulah, but it's another angle to Mesiras Nefesh, which is the takeif. The takeif of the consistency not to be in his fault. Lo shenisi. On the Eibishter it says, Ani avaya lo shenisi. And when you're connected to the Eibishter, that doesn't get phased and doesn't change and doesn't get moved and is not shaykh to shenui, it's not begeder shenui b'chlal. So a yid has a neshama that also doesn't get phased by anything. To have every yid has within him the same nekudah of takeif. The lashon that's always brought in Chassidus is the eson shel neshama. What's the eson? The eson is alt, hard, and stark. It's old, it's strong, it's hard. It's something that you can't penetrate, you can't break, you can't touch it, you can't move it, you can't minimize it. It's unbreakable. There's one way of serving the Eibishter where a person is riding waves. He's riding with the ups and downs, and there's matzavim. There are things that his Avodas Hashem is on a high, an inspiration. So he feels, oh, here's the Eibishter.
Here, I got it, I'm connected. And then when there's a low, and when a person feels like that the Eibishter is out, he's not here for me. And there's something that the Eibishter is like not providing for him, or he feels like in a hard place, it's a choshech, it's a helen, so he feels to himself, I'm not connected. There's Yerida, Aliyas, Yeridis. It's normal, human being. The nature of a human being is Aliyas and Yeridis. There's a famous word of the Friedrich Rebbe that a human being is living on the slope of a mountain. A Yid Befrat is living on the slope of a mountain. That's where life is taking place. Life doesn't take place in the valley or on top of the mountain. It takes place right in the middle on the slope of the mountain. That's where it's all happening. So we're living life over there in that, right? So either a person is going up or is going down, but there's constantly some kind of a movement. If a person thinks that he's standing still in one place, so then you think you're in one place, but you look around at yourself after a few months and you see you were going down. And what if you're climbing, you're fighting, you're going up? So then you have to go higher and higher. That's one concept. But there's another concept, and that's here, this Nekuda that the Rebbe spoke about regarding his father, that by the Rebbe's father, you saw this Nekuda of Lo Shenisi, wherever he went, he was connected to the Eibishter, to the truth, and the environment that he was in didn't matter. He was in Yekaterina's lab with all kinds of Yidden. He was doing what the Eibishter wanted. He came into shul and he spoke the Divrei Torah, the Divrei Kabbalah that he was learning, Mishkan Apkamina, who was there and who was not there. And by the way, at the same time, Rabbi Levitt was a Rav. He was a Rav. He had to be Misali Kiddushin. He had to tend to all the matters that was going on in the city, the kashrus, and all the other petty matters, all kinds of things. He didn't stay at this mufshit and in his own world, sitting with Sifrei Kabbalah Yom V'Layla, and just came, gave droshes and Shabbos, and went back home and went back to the books. He was a Rav in the city. He was the one that was responsible and fought tooth and nail for the Yiddishkeit of the city in every single detail to make sure that every Yid, every Afroyim, just to kasher a chicken, to know exactly how to kasher the chicken, and whatever parat. That was his responsibility. He was involved in all these things. How can it be that a normal person, Teva, is a person that's more of a Baal Seichel, a person that's more mufshit, and he's living more in a world of Svarim, of Torah, book smart, he's in a different world. So for him, that's where the Eibishter is. He finds the Eibishter in that environment. He finds the Eibishter in that place. Then you have other people that are not sichliim, they're not intellectuals, and it doesn't turn them on, it doesn't connect, doesn't mean anything to them. They're more people of Maisa, action. Something in Maisa B'Poil, something in Elam Hazi. You did like a sudden for another Yid. Yeah, Abbas Yisrael, you did something at Pesapel Mamish, something you made a Farbrengen, or you did something at something tangible in this world. Oh, here's where the Eibishter is. Different types of people. Here you have the Rebbe's father was a person which on one hand you saw b'muchash b'golui. Even though this could be true about other Gedali Yisrael, but this is something you saw b'oifim golui by the Rebbe's father, that on one hand he was living in a completely different world. All Olam Hazeh wasn't shaykh in B'chal, didn't begin B'chal. And at the same time, he's a Rav and dealing with the most petty things of Olam Hazeh, bringing Yiddishkeit to the lowest places. What's up, Shab? How could this be? There's the famous words that it says, Shavisi Avayla Negdi Samid. What does Shavisi Avayla Negdi Samid mean? It's a simple touch of Shavisi means I place Hashem in front of me constantly. But the real touch of Shavisi, so the word of the Baal Shem today is Shavisi means the Eibishter is b'shtabis, the Eibishter is b'shab. In every situation, so the Zelber Eibishter. Zelber Eibishter. The person that has the Eibishter in a certain matzav, in a certain gather, in a certain oifen, that's not the end. That's not a kus. That's not the Eibishter. Not the Eibishter. You're really disconnected. The person that thinks that he's connected, dafke in this oifen, you're not. You're fetish not connected. Could be side when you get to a cotton shubiktanen and side when you get to the gol shubikdel. Doesn't matter who he is. This concept comes out in two opposite extremes. You can have the gol shubikdel, the greatest person, which is chap malachim. He's flying in the sky and he thinks like that he's connected to the Eibishter with Aviv Yira and he's mamish the tainug of Nehenim Ziva Shchenet. What's the truth? Grace Rachmanis. He thinks he has the Eibishter. And the emes is garnish mit nish. The Eibishter is not defined by any of that. Nidach Yisrael could also be in the opposite extreme. we have an individual which is a Katan Shabiktanim, and he says to himself, me, I could connect to the Eibishter. What am I going to do? Does any value to me? The feeling of Yush and despair, where a person says, who am I to connect to the Eibishter? Both of these extremes comes from the same Nekuda. When a person creates an image of what the Lakus is, and what it is that how you can reach the Lakus, how you can connect to the Eibishter. So you have to have a certain gather, you have to be on a certain level to connect. So it doesn't work this way. The God Shabbat is not connecting to the Eibishter because of his go'iness or because of his Avaviyah. He's connected to the Eibishter if he does a mitzvah. If he does the Eibishter's mitzvah, so then the Eibishter shines in you. You mamale his ratzin. That's when the Eibishter is in you. Dein Avaviyah, garnished. Tzad Atzmot's gone. Avaviyah is also a mitzvah. Of Rebbe Bavar and Zantanya. Avaviyah Guf is a mitzvah. With Tzad Atzmot's, it's garnished. Meidach is the Katan Shabiktan and the things, Miani Umani. Again, he created a certain image of who the Eibishter is. Umemele, he says to himself, I'm very far from that. The Eibishter has no Gedarim at all. Not Katan, not Godel. The Eibishter is the very essence of reality, of truth, of full of Adi. And the way you connect to him is by doing a mitzvah, by doing his Ratzon, the Zebel. And that's Shaykh to the God of Shabbat and the Katan Shabbat. It's the same thing. It's no enough minute. That's the real connection to the Eibishter. So this Nekuda, this is the Loi Shanisi of the Mesilas Nefesh. You have an Avodas Hashem where a person is constantly dealing with Miush and Meridas and things. I'm not good enough, and problems with me, and who am I, and what am I? Struggling and constantly struggling with them, feeling like second class Yid, a second class citizen. I'll never be perfect. I'll never be like him. I'll never be like him. There's no reason. The whole cook, the whole perspective to look in such a Eifin is not the proper foundation for a Yid. Proper foundation of a Yid is number one. There is a concept. There is a concept to the famous Ayem that says that Ezel Osher Samech Bechelkoi is regarding Gashmias, person that's rich. Who's really rich when it comes to materialism, or to material things? That's someone that is happy with what he has. But Mashenk and Ruchni is always have to look at someone that's higher than you and strive to be like him. There is such a concept in Ruchni is also. Which means you have to have a role model. You have to have someone to look up to, something to strive to grow, to change, to be ready to go to the next level. True, 100%. But at the same time, though, to say to yourself, that a person should come to say to himself, that my Yiddishkeit is second-class Yiddishkeit, me and Ilmani, what's the show? Where does this come from? It comes from a person creating an image of a Lakos, which is Nishgatlichkeit. Mesilas Nefesh is a miyavayu loishanis. It doesn't matter if it's a good day for you or chas v'shalom, it's not such a good day. You woke up in a good mood, you didn't wake up in a good mood. So the Zalvei, it's all the same thing. You're in a place which is your city, you're in a Golus, you're in a place of Yisurim, wherever it is. But the Rebbe's father, he'd say, mentioned before the story, he was in a place, he was in Golus, and he was shvach, and he got up and he spoke for 2 hours. It's the matziv, it's not Teufus Mokim. Efes Ketzeyu, B'Shem Etzmenu. This musig, this hashkafa, this cook, this attitude to understand what it means to be connected to the Eibishter. Being connected to the Eibishter is going first out of your boundaries of who the Eibishter is, and connecting to Eibishter as the Eibishter, not connecting to the self-made God, or the image of the Eibishter you have in your head, but packet to connect to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter is Lo Shanisi. You can be connected consistently no matter where you are, because there's no enough in it. That's the Mesilas Nefesh. That's one of the most important lessons we can learn from the Rebbe's father.
Between the Farbrengen and one B'Shem of the almost column of the show, to say a big taste from the show to a big friend, Rabbi Kapala, was moving tomorrow to Florida. So she be with Shalamokim Shalamal for the Woche, and by Monday, by everyone, so brother to one show. We were slow around on Florida, the good place to go.
Chaim, yes, Randall. Chaim.
Also was given a free status in the Farbrengen. Ritter von Mitzler, von der Beetshaus, von der Form, von Mitzler. Wir müssen passen, dass man dran, nein, nein. Von der Maybe, dass in der Stadt ist, die Brothers,
Mendel. This is Mendel.
Shana Mokim, Shana Mazel, Teva, Lebracha, Lebracha to you and to your family, to the kinder, to everyone. Hava Bagashmius, Baruchnius. And yeah. Share something. You're leaving us. I said this Al Yipotter Adam the Chavera El Miteich Dvar Halacha. Halicha. Nusa, give us a halicha. 26 years in Crown Heights? Wow, Shem Alaya. No? It's the greatest place on the planet Earth. No, I'm sure you come to Florida, you're going to share and bring whatever you're going to come there, and they're going to say, "Oh, this is the new person on the block from Crown Heights. He was close to the Daldamus of the Rebbe, and he definitely has a lot. He's saturated with the truth." And here you are, Makabel. There you're going to be forced to be a Mashpia. We're in Florida. Where are you going? Where are you moving to? Okay, it's a place in Florida. Mishpakan. They're fine. You're gonna discover that over there it's the same Einad Milvad as in New York. Same Eibishter controls everything. Same Shivisi. You're gonna discover the same Eibishter there as here. Chaim. Should be the Teva Nirav Anikla. I saw Bashkacha Pratis today, a word from the Rebbe's father, another word I can share with you. I was actually looking for one word, but instead of taking out the Lakutta Levi, I took out the Titus Levi, and I'm looking at the page and I can't find the word I'm looking for. Turning it again and again and again until I figured out that it was not the Lakutta Levi Yitzchak, but the Vaila. I learned 2 pages from the Rebbe writes there. And then I went to what I was looking for. So it must be Bashkacha Pratis that I saw this word. What's the word that I saw? Everyone has the impression that the Rebbe's father, the Rebbe's Teire, is all Divrei Kabbalah and it's Tirufim, Gematriyos, and it's true, it is. I mean, we stand on most of it. But there's a lot of Geshmak in Yonim, even some things that are even simple to understand. And you can, even a very big in Yonim that you have in the Rebbe's father's Teire, which is the word I saw today was the Rebbe's father teaches the Atachain and Tanu that we say every Motzei Shabbos. What's the pshat in the Nusach of Atachain and Tanu? He teaches side the Atachain and Tanu, and then he contrasts it to the Nusach of Atoidienu that we say when it's a Motzei Shabbos that comes out in Yom Tov. That's already a separate Indian. Explains the differences. But he teaches the Atachain and Tanu, very geschmack.
that if you look closely into the Atachem Antonu, it's mamish giving you the message and the koyach and the ideas that you have to take with you from Shabbos into the weekday. The type that he says, the Kitzur, is as follows. First thing you say is, Lamada Teira Sefer. You go into the world, the first thing is you have to go with Teira. You don't take Teira with you. There's no way, if you don't have the guidance of Teira, the emes of Teira, you can't go into a belt. What does it mean, the guidance of Teira? Teira is a different, is emes. Teira is emes. Teira is a different reality. It doesn't explain things and come to a conclusion based on the premise of the way things are defined in the world. Teira is mamayla lamata. It's a revelation from above. He tells you the truth, whether the Welt is a keli or not a keli. Teira is emes, mamayla lamata. That's the first thing. You're going to a week. Don't forget, you're coming from a Shabbos. You're coming from a day that's Kulei Kodesh, and you have to have that koyach of Teira with you. That wherever you go, you're not part of the Welt. You're in the Welt, but you're never part of the Welt. You never could identify yourself as another creature in this world. You're a Yid. You're connected to Teira. That's the first thing. And then the second thing it says there is Chukei Ritzenecha. The mitzvahs. The koyach of mitzvahs is actually an opposite Indian. The idea of mitzvahs is you can't fulfill a mitzvah without a chayfetz gashmi in the world. The mitzvah is that's paranabal. It's the mitzvah of a gashmis, and you take that chayfetz and you create a mitzvah out of it. So the direction of the mitzvah is punkt fakert, to take the chayfetz gashmi and turn it into a mitzvah. In the lashon that the Rebbe's father puts this in, he says that one is Yisaid and one is Malchus. Yisaid is the siyum of Atzilus, which is the ikar of Eirin Seid that comes down to Atzilus, the Kav, the Zimshachada Yisaid, and then you have Malchus. Malchus is already the Siachas to a Metzias of a Welt. When you go into the world, what's the main Aveda when you go into the world? What's Shabbos? Aveda Sabirudim. Here, you're connecting, you're engaging the world, you're interacting and elevating the world. So you have to have these two opposites at the same time. When you engage with a Welt, on one hand, you always have to stay hecher. You have to realize I'm a Yid and I'm not part of the world. At the same time, though, you have to fully engage with the world. The Eibishter wants you to go into the Tachn Shem Tachn Lamata Imenu. You have to be there in Ganzen. Like the famous word that said once about the Rebbe Rashab. There was a individual, a Kefer, or whatever, he came to the Rebbe Rashab, and after speaking to the Rebbe Rashab for Meshach Zman, he came out and he said that the Rebbe Rashab is Yedea Sa'ilam u'mechaven lemrid. Ken gut the Welt. And he's mechaven lemrid. So Chassidus Chabad is not about a person living and telling himself that Edach Levin and Elam Atzilus, the whole, wherever you turn, wherever you look, it's all about the Zayin and the Tachten. You have to be Tachke in the Tachten, Shem Tachten, Lamate Imenu. That's the second of the Chukei Ritzenecha. Then the Rebbe's father teaches what we say further on. The Lashon, you have a siddur over here. Look at it. No, we're bringing the siddur. Was in Lashon siddur. Okay. The Lashon towards the end, what we say is. 1 second. That's what Avinu Malkeinu. So first, interesting. The Rebbe's father teaches when it says Avinu Malkeinu. Referring to these two inyanim. Avinu is the connection of Av and Ben. The connection of Av and Ben is the connection to Yidas and Eibishter, where it's me and my father. When it's between me and the Eibishter as a father, anything else is Teipus Mokin. If a person is sitting with his father in a room and some stranger walks into the room, so Teipus Mokin, so next though. That's Avinu. That's connected to Teira, the emes of Teira, where the Welt is not a Metzias. Then it's Malkeinu. Malkeinu is Malchus. The Eibishter is a Melech on the world, a Melech Mulayam. The connection of the Eibishter to the Megala Lakos, the Metzias of the Welt. That's Malkeinu. Then it says, Hochel Aleinu Ayom Abom Mikasel the Shalom. That the days of the week should be a Shalom Digger week. What does it mean, Shalom Digger week? The Rebbe's father teaches that it's two Efanim and Aveda Sabirudim. There's Aveda Sabirudim Derech Muchamer, and there's Aveda Sabirudim Derech Shalom. You could either go, everything should be B'derech Muchama, and he teaches us. The Rebbe's father teaches us that the Drati is the whole of Muchama, where he's fighting and he's struggling, and he comes into the Welt, and the Messiah that he deals with is Tefes Mokinton. He sees a Metzias of Pirit from Getlecha. He sees a Pesayin, even if there's no actual Musig of an Aveda, Chas Shalom B'Payo, but a person can look at the Welt as a place which is chas v'shalom muchshir for hepacharatzim, for avedas, for that's how he sees the world. And you have to fight. The Welt is pulling in the opposite way. You walk out into the world. How does the Yid view the Welt? You could view the Welt as a place where everybody's crazy. It's a jungle and everyone's doing crazy things and everyone's going the opposite direction. Mich ben a Yid and ich ben hecher from the Welt and I have to fight. I have to go. That's B'derech Muhammad. But the B'derech Shalom is that a Yid knows that if the Eibusher created the world for a purpose of Dira B'Tachteinim, what does that mean? The purpose of Dira B'Tachteinim is not stand up Samatara. That's the pnimius of the Welt. If lahavdil by a human being, he creates a certain machine, creates a whatever it is with a certain purpose for what it's going to be used. So that's the alulis of this machine. It's made in such a way that it will function according to its purpose of what it is. That's how it was built. The Eibusher built the Welt to be a dir b'tachteinim. So a Yid that goes out into the world with whatever you see going on into the world, but you have to see the pnimius. You have to be makir that the fact that the Welt looks and operates in an oifen of tachten is not because there's be'emes and metzias of a tachten or pirud that's truly an existence that's separated. It's a machine that's operating oifen kazeh that this tachten is going to express the Eibusher. In order to express the extent of the truth of the Eibusher, how weird is the whole takeoff of a lukus expressed in a tachten in the lowest place. So it shows how far, how bleak vul, and how with no boundaries the Eibusher is true, even in a tachten. So that's good for the pnimius of the Welt itself. When the Eibusher creates a world, by the Eibusher, that is the metzias of the Welt. So a Yid that looks with Shabbos cook, you come out of Shabbos and you look with Yiddish eyes, look with a different kind of a cook, you go out into the night with Shalom. That's what we're battling to the Eibusher. It should be a yomim abom rikraseinu l'shalom. Should be a shalom de gaveda. Da bitte b'derech shalom. Cook mit eigen von Teire. Cook mit a heilige cook. Look like the Rebbe looks at the world. The Rebbe sees in the world every single thing is getlichkeit. It's a potential for a mitzvah. It's a potential for a davar chiyuvi. It is a davar chiyuvi. You just have to be megalit. That's what it is. Then the Rebbe the teaches. That's why we say chasuchim ekol menukim ekol oven, medubakim b'yirisach. It doesn't say here l'shaynis where it's saying that you won't do an aveda and you won't. It says chasuchim. Chasuchim means it's like clean, upgefret, completely out of the question. Menukim, medubakim. When a Yid goes into the world with shalom, when it's a struggle, even if you win the battle, but the very fact that there was a battle means that the premise of this battle is that there's you and there's a tzaddik keneged. Even when you win the battle, it's not you didn't damage win it. There's a tzaddik keneged that you were misgaber. Maybe next time he'll be misgaber, maybe not. But it's not a real victory. When a person goes into the world with shalom, where he's megala that the oyev is really a oyev, it's a hey. Because you see the pnimis, you see what the Welt is. It's the Eibusher's Welt. It's Gani. The Rebbe used to say, Bossi Legani, the Welt is the Eibusher's Gan, the Eibusher's garden. So then that's shalom. Then you go into the world shalom. It's chasuchim. The Rebbe's father teaches chasuchim kol chet is b'shegi goes in elam abriya. Menukim kol is elam hayitzira, and menukim mit bakum yirasecha is elam asiyah. Fine. Okay.
Hey. Fine. It's one of the young that the Rabbi was very actually maddish very much. This Aveda of Shalom. Aveda of Shalom. Making matters simple. One of the traditions I think that you see very clearly in the Rabbi's Torah, the Rabbi's Igris, the Rabbi's approach in Avedis Hashem is the Pashtus. Everything, the Rabbi puts everything simple, straightforward, without any complications, without making it complex. I remember years ago reading somewhere an article of some I think Islam was there was a scientist, big scientist. He's, I think a few years he's now to Israel. He works in was up in this Anash, whatever, so and he was by the Rabbi. Spoke to the Rebbe a lot of times about these things, and he said what happened, what he was installed about by the Rebbe was that many different things that science, the conclusions that science comes to, and it comes to it in very complex methods. The Rebbe had an eifin how to come to the same conclusions, but like directly, without all the complexities. So there's a famous Gemara. Also, it's a little bit different, but still the concept in Torah, everything they have in Torah as well. You get to Rosh Hashanah. There's a shayfer which is kaful, and there's a shayfer that's pashut. And there's a discussion in the Gemara. What should you do the mitzvah with? Should you do the mitzvah with a shayfer that has a curve or a shayfer that's straight? You say called the kaful milat fei, or a shayfer with a curve as a milah, or called the pashut milat fei. A shayfer that's straight is better. The file, we take a shayfer that's kaful, that has a curve, right? But by the Rebbe, one of the things that you saw by the Rebbe in Avedis Hashem, people wrote to the Rebbe letters and complained to the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe all kinds of questions that you look at the question, it seems to be very complex. How do you get out of this quicksand? How do you get out of this problem?
And the Rebbe would answer with one line, learn Torah Basmada V'Shkida, remember that Anila Nivrei Siel L'Shamash Eskeni, and finish. V'zehu. There's nothing else to discuss. Simple. You were created by the Eibishter, and a person writes to the Rebbe and he's struggling, he has a hard and he has nefesh bahamis, and he has issues, and he has all kinds of things. He doesn't know, I exist, I don't exist, why do I exist, what's my purpose in the world, and found himself, he didn't find himself, he doesn't know, he's nonsense amish. So obviously, by the Rebbe, a Rebbe schreibt Tazach, it's not just writing a line, it's in Sinis Kaya. When the Rebbe telling you to do kach, the Rebbe telling you, make this achlata, do this and this thing, he's not just tell anyone giving you such a eitz favor. The Rebbe sagt to Azach, das allein führt es durch, and the Rebbe schon genommen auf sich. The Rebbe took on himself whatever tikkun you need and whatever else has to be taken care of with your nefesh bahamis or whatever other things that have to be taken care of. The Rebbe schon genommen auf sich. Nevertheless, you see b'muchish by the Rebbe a different path than what you see, at least b'golu, by other Rabbeim, called the Pashat Ma'al Tzvei. That a Yid, the pshittus of a Yid, the pashtus, without any complications, you can be a chassid, you can serve the Eibishter, in a shalom begoifim. I'm saying this to Kesha to the point that I mentioned before from the Rebbe's father. That Yama Abban L'Pisel and the shalom. The shalom, chasukum v'kol chayt. You can go into life and into Elam Hazeh and to Avodas Hashem with a very, very complex attitude, where everything is a fight with yourself, within and without, and here, and everything is a struggle, and everything wasn't the Rebbe's the Rebbe had given kayach, the Rebbe gave kayach, and the Rebbe empowered us that every Yid live with a maidani. Every Yid can wake up in the morning. The moment he wakes up in the morning, instead of finding your guf that's alive, wake up in the morning and say maidani. Maidani. Even before you said, everyone spoke in Tafshin Beis, Rabbi Yaakov, the Rebbe spoke, even before the maidani. The moment you wake up in the morning, the awareness to do with it, it's you and the Eibishter. The Rebbe brought out the deepest nekuda that there is within a Yid. You don't have to be a Bal Madrege for this. You don't have to be tzaddik, adarabah. Sometimes the more Bal Madrege you are, the more Helen Behester it is in such an attitude. The pashtus of the Yid, simple. We serve the Eibishter, the Shalom, and that to realize that connect to the truth without anything. Push it. There's things that are dragging you a cup. There's things that are bothering you and keep on coming back and keep on coming up again. So if you know the emes, that all those things that come back and bother you are not emes, it's sheker. It's really all sheker. So then you could ignore it. You're not just ignoring it because it's too hard for you to deal with. You're running away from it. You're trying to avoid it. No, there's the head of you. There's a nekuda here, because all those things that are draining your cup are the emes sheker. The emes is that they're sheker. So the more you'll just stick to the nekuda emes of your neshama, and the neshama the head ends. The neshama knows all about you. The more you'll stick to that emes, eventually all those shtusim that come to your head will slowly go away. It will melt away. The Alter Rebbe says, eventually it will melt away. That's the approach in Avodas Hashem that the Rebbe. And Bechlal, there's two fun of Avodas Hashem. There's Riyah and Shmiya. I mean, every parsha, everything has its mind. There's Riyah, there's Shmiya. This week's parsha is Parshas Re'eh. Re'eh means last week's parsha is Tishmun. This week's parsha is Parshas Re'eh. Anochi Neisim Utneichem Hayom. The Rebbe said in Tafshin Aleph, if you look in the Sikh, the Re'eh, the Rebbe is medayik every word. Re'eh, and Anochi Neisim, Tonis Man Yof Neisim Utneichem Pnimius Hayom Hayom Laseisam Menachet Chadoshim. The essence of the Yid, the essence of the Yid, the Yisrael of Avodas Hashem starts with Riyah. It doesn't start with Shmiya. Shmiya The emes is the second shlach. The emes in Avodas Hashem is the neshama that has in set emes has a life fuzzy. Every Yid knows the truth. And then, so whatever other shtusim come up. So even if you have to deal with them, but you know that be'etzem it's not like two people that are misafkim zeh and call them misafkim nuvu misnavel, because when you have a conversation with someone and you're speaking to him on his terms, you have to stoop down to his level and answer him with his shtusim that he has. The Yitzhara comes to you and says to you, "Nispal." What's the musig of nispal means that you give credibility to his approach. And I answer him. You haven't, but the very fact that you gave credibility to his approach, you can give him the best answer in the world. Over the kasha is a kasha. Teretz kenzana gut teretz eichel. Over the kasha, black kasha. Not the derech shalom. The word here is, the word that I mentioned, the word that Rabbi started said is, it should be, we call a young or bomb with Kisayim, it should be shalom. Shalom, the guy from Pashtas, the guy from straight, or Yashar, of course, without consistency, and Yavayla Shamisi, Togain, Togais, Monafkimine, whatever matzav it is, Davish is in every place, in every time, in every matzav, it doesn't matter. Your Balesek, your Shliach, or your Shavoyel, makes no difference. Zelbe, the Tzir is Nishtana, but Davish is not in this Tzir, he's not in that Tzir, Davish is on Pshittis. It's all the same Davish. Time. Marcus up the hate. Hope to see you back soon. Schleim mit Akadish together with all the Yidden.